Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of First and 12 Ounces. We're going to cover all the games from this past week and then look ahead to up and coming week 5. Should be some fun college football coming up. We got some big games coming up, and then we'll cover everything that happened this week. Let's start off with Bo's Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They did complete their first passing touchdown. What else happened with the Irish this weekend, Cole?
Yeah, so I think finally the coaching staff is coming to realize how to actually use Riley Leonard. I mean,
Did
as we've
everybody
all
freeze?
seen and unfortunately watched, um, he is not a pocket passing quarterback. He's got to get out, scramble, do the damn thing. So with that being said, he was the team's leading rusher with 143 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, tacked on 16 for 25 passing, which I'm not really worried about that, and 154 passing yards and a touchdown thrown, gentlemen. It wasn't ran in this time. Who would have thought?
About time.
Nobody in the
About
country.
time.
It's like Jaden Daniels for the Commanders, but hopefully he passes one in tonight. We'll see. Anyways, so he actually ended up passing to one of my favorite transfers that Notre Dame got this past offseason. He took a little dump pass or took a shot at Bo Collins there in the end zone, hit him up. Real good big receiver. I've been kind of hyping him up both in here and when we've been on lives like last couple of weeks. So offense, I think, is kind of starting to come together, especially with Mitch Evans not performing like he's supposed to this year. Preseason possible tight end of the year is turning into a flop. He's hurt week 1, hasn't really produced much since. I'm just looking rough for him. And then our defense, of course, is showing up like they do every single game. Picked off the quarterback for Miami of Ohio twice, sacked him twice. William Cross or Howard Cross off the right up the middle. I mean, dude's our defensive anchor on our D line, and then of course, then our our All-American safeties are doing what they're supposed to between BMO and Xavier Watts. So. Good game, great games for them this past week as usual. Outside of the NIU game, which NIU lost, thank God, down with the Huskies. But anyway, so then that leads us kind of into this Louisville game we've got next week. So it's going to be a ranked matchup, so should be a pretty good game for Notre Dame. Had trouble with them last year, but that was kind of in our gauntlet when we played Riley Leonard at Duke. Then we backed it up with Louisville, and I think Louisville stomped us. I think it was like 40 to like, I don't know, it wasn't even 20. It was like 14 or 17 points, something like that. It was rough, but I think Louisville kind of lost some of their star power from last year. Some of that high octane offense they're used to having. So I think it should be a pretty close game, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. You guys got any insight there on that game or?
I watched it a little bit. I didn't watch too much of it. I'll be honest with you. I did see the passing touchdown. I was kind of like, oh, here we go. Maybe they're gonna start throwing the ball, and they kind of just didn't really throw it anymore. They threw it every once.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
I'm jealous of that Bo can use the phrase "the gauntlet we went through," and it was Duke and Louisville. That's what I'm jealous of right now. That is unreal.
Hey, hold on now. His gauntlet's about to get a little bit tougher after Louisville, though. So Stanford should be an easy win for him. But then he's got Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech looks good when they want to play ball. And then he's got Navy. And we all know what Navy did this past weekend. Their quarterback had some wheels, and he showed up and showed out. After that, they got Florida State, which should be a win. Virginia, which should be a win. Army, which should be a win if they can stop that option, which has been the issue so far, is y'all just can't stop the running game. And then y'all finish out with USC. USC did stumble this past week, but that should be a real good one. What's the trophy that they fight for? They play for too. It's like an Irish thing that they club people over the head with. I forgot what it's called.
Never even heard that.
Bro, man, this is your team. You don't know the name of your rival.
Now, like I said from the get-go, I am now a inherited fan. Okay, I've just been kind of following the last 2 or 3 years. Last year, a lot more heavier, but I was actually able to go to a game. But yeah, it's not like a. Gosh darn it, I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me later. But
I can't think of the name.
I don't know.
Man, you lose team points on that one, man.
I know. Hey, you know what? It's okay. It happens. It happens.
Yeah, I never even heard of that trophy.
The only reason I know of the trophy is from old school college. It would be one of the rivalry trophies you used to be able to play for.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the name of it though. All right, let's move on to your LSU Tigers, man. Crazy game. We talked about it afterwards. You gave us, a little bit of your take. We talked about it a little bit on Coffee and Cover 2 as well. This defense is kind of looking for an identity, and now they're going to have to look for it without their one of their key players and key figures in Perkins. Crazy news, and Buddha is always dialed in. I'll let y'all know this for sure. Buddha had this news of this injury like as it happened.
Like 15 minutes after the game, I knew. But
yeah, but he was sworn to secrecy, and he would not let me break the news. As much as I begged.
And I'm a sicko for LSU football, so like the idea of risking my line of info was. And I called the guy. I talked to him. And everything. Well, and then the guy that he got the info from, I could hear in the background on the phone, and he was like, "He's like, I shouldn't have fucking told you. See, you're telling people." I was like, "Tell your boy I'm not. Just stay right here." I said, "We're gonna be the second people to break it, though. I'll tell you that."
And he then told me the news, and I'm like, "I'm breaking it." And he's like, "Dude, you can't. I was in his wedding. You can't." I was like, "All right."
Yeah, dude, let's not. Yeah, but we gotta have it early. But the team of two halves.
Absolutely.
LSU's given up 16 points in the second half in the last 3 weeks. That's it. They gave up 89 yards of offense to UCLA in the second half. I mean, they were dominant. I mean, that's a dominant performance. It's been the first half of games. I mean, that's probably been the Kelly tenure. I think that's why LSU's a really tough team to get a read on right now. You look at them and go, if they're the second half team, they can beat anybody on their schedule. If they're the first half team, they might win 7 games, which we have no idea which one it is. Because you did it on the road, the same thing. You dominated South Carolina in the second half, and then you dominated UCLA. So I want to say they're somewhere in the middle. I think this is going to kind of be their recipe. Keep this thing within a puncher's chance at halftime, and then see what you can do, which they've done in the Kelly tenure. You know, they were down 17-0 a couple of years ago to Auburn and did it. They were down, I want to say 17-3 to Ole Miss 2 years ago and came back and won that one. Like, this has kind of been his calling card is I don't know what he was doing at Notre Dame. I mean, I wasn't watching Notre Dame games that close back then. I knew they won a lot of games, but I don't know if they were winning games like that. I don't know if this is just who Kelly is. I do think though, like LSU's better than I think a lot of LSU fans are acting. Like LSU's ranked 14th in the country. They're 3-1. You've got a good road victory. You were probably a play away from beating a USC team that we kind of all consensusly think are a top 15 team. But around Baton Rouge, dude, I mean, if you didn't know anything and you just heard people talking about LSU football right now, you'd have the mind. You'd go like, "Oh man, they must be like 1-3." Like,
yeah.
And look, the UCLA game was not pretty by any stretch, except for the second half. They were 4 points away from covering the spread. Like, there was a 21-point spread at going into kick, and they won by 17. Now, it was a weird 17-point win, but I think LSU's a lot better than people think they are. I don't think they're in the upper echelon of the elite teams, and I don't think anybody ever probably thought that was going to be the case. Like, they're not a Texas, they're not a Georgia. You know, I'm not going to throw Alabama in there yet, but like they're not one of those teams.
And I'll touch on it just because we talked about it beforehand, and then it'll pretty much be a layup to you too as well because we did discuss this on Saturday after the game for a good little bit before you gave your take. LSU fans are spoiled. I told you this. They're looking for 2019 to happen again. They're looking for another Jaden Daniels to break out again, and everything just click and it roll. Not taking anything away from Nussbaum. Nussbaum's numbers look great. He's playing great, and it's overshadowed by how bad the defense is playing. Not only bad defense, but just bad game management in the first half as well. Because he'll get on a hot streak, and then they'll change it up where he's not throwing the ball anymore. So it's kind of a question of what's going on here. My question to you, like I said, it will be a layup, is where does it come? Like, where I understand it, no, I don't understand. I don't understand how LSU fans expect 2019 to happen again, because that was a once in a lifetime year.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily
Jaden Daniels. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Jaden Daniels' stats were phenomenal and great. But that's another one of those things that rarely happen. And to me, it seems like y'all are spoiled and y'all think it's supposed to happen every year. Not saying that it can't in the future, but it's going to take a while before it happens again.
No, so I'll touch on two separate points. I'll touch on team performance and I'll touch on Nussmeier secondly. I don't know if people. I don't know if people genuinely realize that that's what they're expecting, right? Like, I think, like, people look back at, like, look how good we were. And, like, it's unheard of to go through a college football schedule unscathed and also never really even have a threat. Like, almost every game they played that year, even the Texas game, the game was put away before it hit zero. Like, you knew who was going to win with time left on the clock. That's unheard of. That doesn't ever happen, and it may never happen again. I think the issue people got right now is LSU fans are viewing this thing through the lens of, and this is Brian Kelly's fault. He said year 3 was the year. Circle year 3. Now, like we talked about in my post game deal and on the Coffee and Cover 2, I don't think when he said that statement, he knew year 2 would have the Heisman winner and he'd have to replace the whole defensive staff, right? And the defensive statistics, nobody's going to believe this. The defensive statistics are not great. They are a much better unit than last year. The difference in the defense this year versus last year is this year they're rolling out like 5 freshmen back there. So they're missing some assignments, which are creating big chunk plays, which is where the majority of the problem is. Last year, they just got beat down their throat. Like, it didn't matter. Like, people just showed up and did what they want. Teams haven't done that really this year. And even if you look at the games where it's like we talked about the South Carolina game. South Carolina had 150 yards rushing on 2 plays. Take that away, and they don't even have 100 yards rushing that game. The USC game, very similar. You played good defense, and you gave up a chunk play at the end and ends up losing it. The Nichols game, you give the Guggenheim up the middle for 65 yards. Like, so the defense is much better, and that kind of, you can look at that as the turnover rate. They're turning the ball over at a pretty good clip. I think them and Texas both, the turnover margin's 4 for both of them. Like, they're turning the ball over at a really good rate right now. It's a better defense. Statistically, it's still like 15th in the SEC, which is not acceptable, but it is improving. You got a ton of young guys. I just think sometimes people get obsessed with this idea of, well, we're LSU, we're really talented. Because I hear that on Twitter all the time, right? We're LSU, we are talented. I'm tired of hearing about that. The answer, they're not in the secondary. The defensive ends have been great. They look like legitimate SEC defensive ends. They've been fantastic. The linebacking crew has shown spots where they look fantastic, and then they've shown spots where they miss an assignment and a guy goes for 60. The secondary is a young group that's inexperienced, that's not crazy talented either, which is kind of the reason you get some of these bust plays, in my opinion. You have to play this chaos style of defense, which is going to generate turnovers and sacks, which they've done. I think they got 12 sacks in the last 2 weeks. Like, they'll sack the quarterback and they turn the ball over, but it leaves you susceptible to big plays.
Yeah, LSU is ranked number 6 in sacks percentage. In offensive pass average that they allow, they're ranked 113th.
It leaves you susceptible to it.
Yeah,
right.
And then your pass total, you're ranked 100.
I think you look at it like this though, as a defense. And I think the reason they call the defense like that is because they know they have deficiencies back there. So the way they look at it is, would we rather be the 85th ranked defense and not get turnovers, or are we okay being a 95th ranked defense, but we turn the ball over twice a game and give our offense an extra 2 shots? I'm okay with that. I don't think this is the long-term plan for Blake Baker. I think he's looking at his personnel going, this is how I have to do it. But on the second part of this, Garrett Nussmeier is getting – LSU fans are, like, disrespecting Garrett Nussmeier. I don't know how else to put it, right? Like, UCLA's bad. But if you'd have told people 5 years ago you're going to beat a Big Ten team by 3 scores and your quarterback's going to go for 350 and 3 touchdowns, The idea that there's people like this offense is trash is insane. Garrett Nussmeier is playing quarterback as good as anybody in the country right now, right? Like you can say a name like, well, I think this, but he's in the conversation of there ain't a lot of guys at the position playing at a higher level than he has on a consistent basis. He just set the record for LSU for most completions through 4 weeks. Cole Kool-Aid.
He leads the SEC in completions and in touchdowns.
Like he's playing phenomenal, and like he went 32 for 44, and y'all watched the game. He also hit Kyron Lacy in the face and he dropped it. Like there's a little bit of a drop problem, but he's playing lights out. And I texted y'all this today, and I mean this, and by no stretch am I saying LSU's gonna do this. If LSU, handles business this week against South Alabama, which we can touch on after, and then gets to Ole Miss, and they beat Ole Miss. And again, I'm not saying that's gonna happen. Well, as we get closer, if they beat Ole Miss, Garrett Nussmeier will enter his name into the Heisman talk because he's playing at that type of level. Because he's on pace right now to have like almost 50 touchdowns. Like he's playing at an unreal clip. So like you might not like everybody's like, yeah, Joe Burrow was generational. He was. Jayden Daniels, generational. He was. Garrett Nussmeier's playing at a very similar clip. I mean, he just completed the most passes in LSU history through 4 weeks. I mean, his worst game as a college quarterback, he went for 2 touchdowns and 285 yards. He's only had 1 game in his career as a starter where he doesn't throw over 300 yards. Like, he's playing unbelievable. It drove me nuts today. The more I started thinking about it, I'm like, we're 3-1 and ranked 14th. And we're pretty good. We're not great. But, like, I hear people talking on Twitter, like, we might not win 6 games this year. It's like, dude, you're better than Arkansas. You're better than they. Like, you're going to win. You're probably going to get to that 9-win mark. Like, that's who you are. Like, it's nuts. And I'm higher on this than I was after the game. Again, though, I reset the expectation. I don't think we're a top 5 team. I think you can backdoor your way into a playoff, but that's just kind of where you are right now.
The defense has got to step up a good bit. The pass defense is bad, like you said. I think the thing that worries me, as you alluded to, and we'll get in, we'll transition directly to their game this week against South Alabama. The rush defense has got to step up. The rush defense has got to do something. They have been giving up some of the bigger rushes to quarterbacks. I don't think they'll have that issue with South Alabama, but South Alabama's rushing offense is good, really good.
Really
They're let's see, they're ranked 18th in the nation in rushing offense.
Well, they're really good.
South Alabama. Me and you talked about it earlier. There's going to be a talent deficiency. LSU is more talented than South Alabama, absolutely. They're 18th on the rush, ranked 31st on pass, and they're ranked 27th on points per game. They're a dangerous team on offense. Now, do I think they give LSU trouble? I think it'll kind of be like Nicholls for maybe a quarter or two, and then LSU will settle and kind of do their work. But if LSU comes out sluggish like it did against Nicholls, and let this thing start to get away, it's not going to be pretty. And it's not. I mean, it's just going to be something that they got to fix in the second half, which they've done and proven to do, which I think they will do. By no means am I saying South Alabama's coming in and beating LSU whatsoever. I'm just saying if they don't sure up that defensive front, it's going to cause issues, not only with South Alabama, but just moving forward.
Absolutely. I'd be interested to know, and I've been lazy. I need to do it because I actually think watching it with my eyes, the run defense is pretty good. LSU runs. We were concerned with the D line. It's been the best part of the defense. I'd be interested to know, and I'll do the numbers after. I should.
They're ranked 51st on rush average, and they're ranked 30 total on rush defense.
What do they allow? What do they allow per game? Just because I'm curious.
I don't have that.
It doesn't say on there.
I'd be interested to see if you take out I think the numbers look real bad sometimes because they make the screw up and they fit a wrong gap. I think they gave up 14 rushing yards to UCLA. I think it's a really low number. I think I think the run defense is pretty good. I think they make some missed assignments with young guys that inflate the numbers. Like against South Carolina, again, you gave up 150 on 2 plays. You give up 65 to Nicholls on 1 play. So I'd be really interested, I'm a pull, to just take the top 10 runs they've given up and go, what does it look like if we don't miss assignments? Now, missed assignments are part of it. Bad defenses miss assignments.
Yeah, gave up 14 total rushing yards.
Yeah, so again, I think the rush defense is pretty good outside of when they go bonehead and give up the big one. I think if you eliminate the big one, that's a top 20 rush defense to this point.
Absolutely. They gave up 281 in the air. I mean, they got 3 turnovers. They got 2 fumbles and an interception.
That's what this defense is going to be.
I'm sorry. They got UCLA got one of the fumbles back, so they got 1 fumble and 1 interception in that game.
That's what this defense is. It's they've got to do that, right? Like, you don't have the personnel to go, we're better hat on hat. We've got to get opportunistic. We've got to pick the ball off, strip sack you. We've got to do some of these things and fit. Just don't make bonehead decisions. Fit the right gap. I think what happens is these young guys, they're elite in high school, obviously, like they're playing at a school like LSU. I think sometimes they see something, and in high school they could go into a wrong gap and get into the backfield. Now you're playing Power 5 football, the gap closes and the guy's stuck in there where he just needs to trust the staff and go, just go to where you're supposed to go. And instead of a 60-yard, let's just give up 6.
What I'm not understanding is the unestablished rushing offense.
It was better. It was better against UCLA.
You had 102 rushing yards. You averaged 3.6 a carry, but I didn't understand them not feeding the freshman. The freshman has been y'all's bell cow, and then y'all just didn't feed him the ball.
So I think the thing that comes down to this is he's not good in pass pro, right? He's a young freshman. So, like, talking to my dad called me, and he's like, well, we get the ball to this guy. I'm like, here's the deal with pass pro. If a guy's not good at pass pro, and teams know that, and you know it, when he comes on the field, you become really one-dimensional because they go, we don't trust him to pass block, so we have to give it to him. So you've got to mix him in sparingly, or they do the little thing where he scores a touchdown this week where they just slip him out. They go, like, don't do pass pro. We'll just get you the ball. But that becomes really – so once he gets better at that, he'll take over majority of the carries, I believe, which sucks, like because he's clearly the best natural back we have, clearly, which, I mean, showed it again. He took a ball and just burnt a defender and went to the house.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they have no issues, as we talked about, against South Alabama. I think it looks like Nichols for a quarter, and maybe a quarter and a half at the longest, and then LSU settles and just does everything.
Yeah, my last thing on LSU is this. If you're an LSU fan, you're going to hear all the numbers on South Alabama and what their offense has done. You're the better team. You should handle them. I think you will handle them. I get they beat Northwestern 87-10. Northwestern might be the worst team in America. They just got beat 39-0 by Weber State. I think they've only played one game this year where the score was within 30. They're 0-4. They're horrible. App State was favored in that game, but remember, it's week 4. So Vegas is solving some of those. App State's been blown out twice now. One was Clemson, but they barely squeaked by ECU, and they played a very mediocre East Tennessee team week 1. South Alabama still has 2 losses. They are electric on offense. They spread the ball around. They're a run dominant, but they do it in a spread style. But the talk of LSU fans are like, man, this is going to be a test. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. You should be head and shoulders better than this team.
Yeah, it shouldn't be at all, but we'll see. I mean, the thing that worried me and that I talked to you about too as well is they can't come out looking ugly like Nicholls State and expect South Alabama just to stop doing what they do, because they've proven it that if they can get the ball and score, they're going to pretty much run down. So we'll see. I don't again. That's not me saying LSU's going to lose the game, because I don't think they are. I just think it's going to be ugly for like a quarter or two, and then they'll be like, all right, stop playing with your food and get to work.
No, I agree. I would say the goal this week to be don't play with your food.
Yeah.
Don't play with your food. That should be the goal.
Absolutely. Next up, Texas, and what's bad about this team? I hate to say it, but I can't find it. The backup comes in, 51 points. Defense is playing lights out. Number 1 defense in points per game in the SEC, tied with Ole Miss on that. Number 3 in yards per game. Number 4 on yards per play. Number 5 in third down conversions. Number 1 red zone offense. Like they're playing lights out, lights out. And then the ultimate question was like, well, who have they played? Well, they played Michigan. They just beat USC, but Michigan's still question mark team, how good they're going to be. We start SEC play this week playing Mississippi State. Not a very good ball team. They just lost their starting quarterback. Quinn did practice today, but he's going to be game time decision. Well, if Sark had to announce today, he said it in his press conference, he'd be a game time decision. But as a Texas fan, you got to be confident even if he doesn't play. And honestly, Mississippi State, I don't really think. I think you should give him another week off. Let him rest up. I mean, or you let him play a quarter and a half, pull him out, put Arch back in, let him rest for the bye week, and then we got Red River. There's no reason to put him out on the field and risk anything for him to get hurt on. Texas's defense is elite, hands down elite. They proved it again this week. At halftime, they gave up 101 yards. You know how many yards they gave up to finish the game? 111. They gave up 10 yards in the second half. That's it. And this is with the second, third, and fourth string players getting in the game. So not only did the first stringers do it, the rest of the guys did too. Arch didn't play, I don't think, a snap in the fourth quarter. Our backup was in. Our backs got pulled. And then Jade. This is something you gotta love. Whenever you're starting running back, Jaden Blue, you talk to him on Monday after the weekend, and he says, "Dang, coach, I could have played better. Could have played better. Got 124 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns."
I was just about to highlight on that. That was after coming off of an injury too, because he got out last week. So I mean, your comeback games over 100 yards rushing and multiple touchdowns. I think you did perfectly fine.
And he said, "Man, I could have played better than that." And he was just like, "All right, Jaden, all right." Like, you gotta love that. You gotta love when you have that. And then I don't know if y'all saw it. I love Quinn getting the team hyped up going into the second half. He came out. He made the whole. He's still a leader. Not playing, but he's still a leader. Just getting him hyped and everything else. Anthony Hill had to come out week. He was PFF Player of the Week, highest graded player for linebackers. Played lights out. Had a pick 6 that was called back on a blocking in the back call, but it is what it is. I mean, hey, we got SEC opener against Mississippi State. Like I said, I think it'll probably be a pretty sound, easy game for him to pull off. I don't really see anything to worry about. Other than that, I mean, like I said, I don't see anything wrong with this team as of yet. We still have to. Competition's going to step up each week. Mississippi State, I don't think it'll be a test there. Yeah. And honestly, going into Red River, I don't think Texas is sweating anything when it comes to Red River. It's what's after Red River. It's when Georgia comes to town. That's whenever it's going to get fun. And that'll be a huge one. And then that's whenever we see if, as everyone had alluded to throughout the summer, Texas isn't SEC ready. Well, we'll see, because the SEC starts this week, and it'll be fun once it does kick off. That's enough of my rant about Texas. Did y'all see anything about it anywise? Any other way?
I think it sucks that Chapin's out this week.
Absolutely.
Right, for Mississippi State, because I was really looking forward to y'all going against what I would consider would be the most competent quarterback y'all would have played thus far, right? Because like Michigan, like they won this week. They don't have a quarterback, so I was like, I didn't think it was going to cause an issue, but I was excited to see how good is this defense going to look against competency at quarterback. Now it feels like you're not going to get that. It feels like the game kind of lost. It was like now it's like, this thing will probably be like 48-10. Like that's what it feels like. Which I don't know. I mean, you'd be jacked up about it, or you can look at it through the lens of like maybe would have liked a little bit of a litmus test, just a litmus test of where we're at.
Yeah. Some kind of welcome into the SEC more than just kind of like hey, okay, well, this is they're
something that's at least like
and now it's kind of like
elite team, but
we'll see how it plays out. Speaking of the Michigan USC game, we did touch on a little bit on Coffee and Cover 2, but we can dig into it more. That win was sloppy and just I don't know what to say about it. When you throw for 37 yards and then you just say, hey, you know what? It's 4th and goal to win the game. and you just run it down their throat. Like,
I mean, when you have I would say, two of the top, running backs in the Big Ten. It's like, that's just a gimme. I mean, that's literally like a Dwayne Wade lob to LeBron, and he's dunking on your head. Like, I mean, there's not much you can do there. And your quarterback can't throw for shit either. I mean,
he's
Orgy
horrible.
sucks. Mullins, I think, and it's hard because between Mullins and Edwards, I was actually kind of hyped on Edwards coming into the season, but I mean, he has yet to impress me. I mean, he hasn't done a damn. He played great behind Corum last year. Corum would do all the dirty work. Edwards would come in and then get like a 50 or 60-yard rush. I have yet to see that this year, and Mullins is getting the bulk of the carries and absolutely carrying that team on his back. Him and Will Johnson, that's it. You got 1 and 2 on the offense. Oh, and Colston Loveland, I will give him his flowers. Love watching him play. But other than that, I mean, USC's defense is USC's defense. It sucks. It still sucks. I mean, they've got some fine tuning to do. I mean, Miller Moss, I think he's looking great, as good as he can. But I mean, again, you have to tighten up your defense because, I mean, obviously your defense is losing you games between their 2 losses on the year. So
that was a Lincoln Riley coached USC team. He has struggled in his career against teams that show up and punch him in the mouth. And that's what Michigan did. Michigan did what I thought LSU was going to be able to do. I thought he'd just punch him in the mouth, and then Lincoln, he doesn't have success when teams do that. When he gets out physical, he can't figure it out. And that's what happened. I mean, you gave up 27 points to a team that had, 36 passing yards?
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan showed him and punched him in the mouth over and over, and USC did not respond well. That's Lincoln Riley, though.
Their game management team in that game was horrible. They didn't run the ball. It's the fourth quarter. You barely had the lead. Don't give them the ball back. Come up with some kind of like the 2 screenplays. I'm not sure if y'all watched them or not. One, the running back doesn't even turn around for the ball to get pitched to him, and Moss throws it at his feet. The next one was a screenplay again. He doesn't even catch the ball. Like, catch the ball at least so the clock runs, so you can drain some time off of that clock.
That's Lincoln Riley.
You give them the ball back. You know they're going to run the ball because they can't throw it. They have yet to complete a pass that looked any kind of threat. And what do? 67 yards Mullen hits on. And then it's like, uh-oh.
This is Lincoln Riley. You got him into a game where it went, you're the better team, be physical and end it. Hand the ball off, be physical and end it. He can't do it. He literally cannot handle physicality when it comes to the game came down to, can USC just show their will and get out of here? And he still went finesse. And it bit him in the ass, which is what he did at Oklahoma, which is what he's done to this point at USC. He did it with Utah. He did it against Utah. It's just what he does.
Yeah. Let's give Bo his flowers on another one, the Friday night game, because Bo is the point when he picks these upsets. We were both thinking the Big Red Nebraska's coming in and going to teach Illinois a lesson, and Illinois came in and hello, we can play ball too.
Yes, sir. So my look, like, and I told y'all last week on last week's episode, Illinois had the tougher schedule. They've played harder opponents. Kansas was, I think, 18th at the time or 16th when they came to Illinois to play them. They upset them. I was looking at that game more of Illinois' already played a ranked opponent, beaten them, and you're getting this true freshman quarterback coming in there. Head's already big, just beat the absolute dog shit out of Colorado, coming into Champaign-Urbana. And, we went out, we punched him in the mouth, and it was, overtime game, but, we pulled it out and we won, and we pressured him in OT. He didn't know what to do with it. He was shitting in his hands.
Absolutely.
So, I haven't watched much Illinois football, but I mean, like I said, from what the little bit I have seen out of Altmaier, he's pretty good quarterback for the most part. But I mean, I don't expect them to do great things, obviously, but I mean, they're looking decent. I'll say that much.
Yeah, they had that freshman quarterback kind of wondering what he was doing in overtime, because they got him for what? I think they sacked him All three are not all
every down, I think.
every day.
Yes,
Every
they did.
time he took that, like you can't do that in overtime whatsoever. Like
was going to be really good. He wasn't ready for the moment. He played like a freshman, but he's in 2 years he's going to be a top 3 pick probably. I mean, he's freakishly talented. The moment was he stayed so nonchalant, which is like what his game is. So like you don't really want him to change that. The nonchalantness in the pocket got him sacked to end that game. Like he's like lollygagging, it looks like. But that's his game, right? Like don't change it. He'll get better. He'll figure out how to work on that. But the moment was too big for Iola.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into this up and coming week's games, we'll touch on game based game, the big one, Tennessee OU. We'll get y'all's takes on it, and then I'll finish it off. So, what did y'all think about it?
So, I think kind of as we all expected. Obviously, Nico's the better player between him and Dart, and I don't think that's really a question. I mean, again, Tennessee came in, even if they couldn't pass the ball, Dylan Sampson had his way with their D-line. I think he ended up breaking over 100 yards, I believe. I think. And had a touchdown in that game, and Pete, you can check me on that.
I'm pulling it up now, so.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's hard when your defense is on the field as much as they are, because I mean, Oklahoma their offense looks atrocious, and I don't know if their star receivers that haven't played it all this year is gonna help them any.
Sampson finished with 92 yards rushing.
92 yards. Did he punch one in?
Yeah, he did have a touchdown.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I mean, damn near 100 yards, like what he's been doing, and got a rushing touchdown. So on top of that, and then Nico spreading the ball around like he does. I mean, that's going to be a tough offense. And then obviously their defense came out and actually showed up against I wouldn't say a great team. I mean, an okay, Oklahoma team. I mean, held them to, I think it was 15 points. I think final tally. So, I mean, take that as it is. But I mean, Jackson Dart looked, confused. He looked horrible, which is why he got benched. So,
Arnold.
And I'll pass this on to Boot. I'll pass that baton off. Yeah. So he can kind of give you his thoughts.
I'd look at it like this. If I was an OU fan, I'd be red flags everywhere concerned. Because any team they're going to play that's got a legitimate offensive that can score, they're going to struggle with. Like, the clear one you look at is the Texas game. It feels like they're not even in the same zip code right now. Jackson Arnold, after everything we heard about him, looks so not ready for the moment. Looks, like shell-shocked. He got benched, right? And now they're in a legitimate quarterback conversation. I don't want to call it a controversy. The controversy is that they're both bad. That's the controversy. It's not like, which is what bad do you want? You want to roll out bad that can run or bad that can't run? So probably go with the bad that can run. But I do think their defense is a little bit better than I wanted to give them credit for all offseason. I kept saying all they do is turn the ball over. They're an okay defense. Like, the defense is good enough. They're horrible offensively. And it starts at the line of scrimmage, which Pete was all over after their blowout win against Temple. He was like, hey, I think they were, 3 for 16 on third down in that game? He was like, Their O-line's not good. The O-line's an issue. I can't look at that team and go, you're going to beat anybody who's worth anything on your schedule. Like, it's hard. I didn't think Tennessee looked as electrifying as we thought they might look on offense. Like, they looked like they got some growing to do on offense, but they're clearly the better team. My thing with Oklahoma is you had maybe the best quarterback in the Big 12 last year. He wasn't the best, he was the second best. And you shipped him out of town, basically told him, get out of here. And every Oklahoma fan from the day that happened until Saturday night was going, well, you would always want to go with the talent. You know how good Jackson Arnold is? You want to talk about, it might be a different team if you've got Gabriel on it. What an insane thing to do when you really think about it. We've got an elite top 10 quarterback in the country. We're going to run him out of town in hopes that this guy who was a 5-star is some generational player. It's nuts to me. They're in trouble. Venables is in real trouble, right? Like, because that's who this falls on. You ran out a guy who at one point was the favorite to win the Heisman after the Red River game last year. He was the favorite to win the Heisman, and you went, we would rather roll out this guy who's never played because he was a 5-star. That's what we want to do. It's nuts to me. They're in trouble because I don't think they could score points on anybody. I mean, I don't think they could score on anyone. You can't. You can't do anything on a scrimmage if you just get bullied. Like, they feel like a 6-6, 7-5 team. Like, it feels like the wheels could come off this thing quick. Because I know it was, 22-15?
Yeah.
Tennessee dominated that game. Dominated it. Tennessee manhandled them. It was the 15 points is at the end when Tennessee's going, like, let's just get out of town. Like,
two touchdowns. They scored with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the last touchdown was with a minute left in the fourth quarter. So two garbage time touchdowns.
Go ahead. All right, let them have it.
I'll say my part. I'll start off with this. So Buddha alludes to it on Twitter a lot because I do have a tendency to pick on OU. We are not a Texas-based or LSU-based or Notre Dame-based podcast. We're a college sports podcast. That being said, as a Texas fan, when your rival sucks this bad, you're going to speak on it. And I'm going to speak on it a lot. Y'all are trash. All I've heard all summer was how good Jackson Arnold was going to be. He looked like shit in the bowl game last year. Guess what? Sprinkle some sugar on it, it's still shit. Because he's shit, which is why he got benched. That offensive line is garbage. All we keep hearing is if our wide receiver, your wide receivers can be as healthy as they want. They don't have a quarterback to throw it to them or the offensive line to give the quarterback time to pass it. Your leading rusher in this game was your backup quarterback with 22 yards. Your backup who didn't get in until the fourth quarter. It's not a position issue. It's a coaching issue. Brett Venables is your problem. I've been saying he's not the guy since we started this. He's not the guy. Your Super Bowl win happened last year in Red River. It's gone. You haven't done anything since. Y'all are going to say, oh, but we can't. People were already saying it on Twitter. We lost by 10 points against the number 6 team. You got 2 trash touchdowns to end the game.
Yeah, you got handled.
You got dominated that whole game. Josh Heupel didn't want to run the score up and risk turning the ball over to y'all because y'all do turn the ball over on defense. He didn't want to risk that. He didn't want to give y'all that opportunity. So he didn't. Y'all got 2 trash touchdowns to make it look closer than it was. Tennessee spanked that ass. I don't know if y'all beating Auburn next week. I'm this week. I don't know if y'all are. And Auburn's a bad football team, but Auburn might be an issue for y'all because that offense y'all got is atrocious, and y'all got more injuries. More people were hurt. Y'all just moved a running back to wide receiver, I believe, or I forgot what position he played, but y'all just moved somebody to wide receiver. You need to move people to linemen. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to finish the season shitty, and then the key star players y'all do have, guess what? When the portal opens up, teams are going to come hunting. They're going to say, why do you want to play for this offense? You're a dominant player. Why do you want to play for this offense? And guess what? They're going to leave. They ain't staying. They're not staying for what you're putting on the field whatsoever. This defense can be as great as it wants to be on paper, but if it spends too much time on the field, it's not going to hold up whatsoever. When your head coach says this after the game and they ask him what happened, or this is what he said in his press conference today, there was some bad football being played.
I mean, there's no way to put it, right? I think what Jackson Arnold looks like to me.
You're the head football coach. You determine how football is played on your team. Look in the mirror, my guy. Like it's not there. Like I don't get it. I don't see what everyone else is seeing that they think is going to happen. It's going to flip overnight. It's not happening. They're going to play their best game of the year against Texas and lose by 20.
I think I'd agree with that. Jackson Arnold feels like Graham Mertz.
Who starts next week?
It's going to be, what's his name, Hawkins? Whatever his name is.
It'll probably be the other. Yeah, it'll probably be backup.
I mean, he gave that offense a little bit of juice. Like, they at least look somewhat competent.
I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm just like, do you start him? Like, because then what does that say? that says, hey, we, like you said, like you alluded to, we ran off Dillon Gabriel for this guy. Now he's on the bench.
I think you got to at this point, because if not, Venables is going to lose his job over dying on this hill, right? Like, you have to make the decision. You're going to lose your job over this guy, Jackson Arnold, which, as we said all summer, you cannot just go, he's a 5-star, he's great. There's too many cases of guys who were 5 stars that turn out to be mediocre quarterbacks. I say Graham Mertz because that's who comes to mind. Graham Mertz was this massive recruit coming out. He was like the number 2 quarterback in the country that year. Graham Mertz has been meh. Jackson Arnold, I think, is a okay quarterback, but you hyped him up like he was going to be the next best thing since sliced bread, and he got benched in the biggest game of your season to this point, where a guy who you ran out the building, you didn't renew Heupel's contract, you ran him out the building, you had to bench your starting quarterback because Heupel showed up and bullied you. I mean, it's
in
nuts.
your house. In your house. In your house.
Nuts,
and
dude.
Then how many times did we hear over the summer? How many times, and y'all both remember, how many times did we hear Arnold's better than Arch? Arnold's better than Arch. Arnold's better than Arch.
We heard that. We've heard that every week.
3. They kept saying he was the top 3 quarterback in the conference.
Arch's stats are better than Arnold, and Arch is our backup. He's played 1 game. Arnold started 4.
It's not, dude. This is the thing, though. Like, you should never run a surefire thing out the door in hopes that something's better, right? Texas is a great example of it. Do we think Arch is going to be great? Yeah, we do. We all are on that agreement. I think every Texas fan in the world would tell you that. You'd be idiotic to go, hey, Quinn, we leave. We're going to go this. Which it sounds bizarre to be like last year, Texas going, hey, Quinn, go somewhere else. We're going to roll. Like, sounds idiotic to say. That's what OU did. They had a guy who at one point was the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy and ran him out the door for a guy who hadn't started a college game yet. Like, I don't feel bad for you, nor do I want to argue with you on Twitter. You did this stupid shit. You made the bed, fucking lay in it.
Exactly. And I'm tired of seeing people, hey, I hate to call him out again, but Cam said, hey, man, y'all need to watch film. What are we watching on film that we're not seeing on the field? Because if it happens on film, it would be on the product would be on the field. You may see, oh, well, he's going to make this read or he's going to do this if he does this there. Guess what? He's not doing it. There's no need to watch film. He's not doing it.
You're going to get this. Well, the O-line's so bad, he doesn't have time to make plays. All I know is they put in the backup, and it didn't fix the offense, but they started moving the ball down the field a little bit. He gave a little bit of juice. Like, it looked like they could do some things with him. Arnold, it was like, this guy's pathetic. He's just not good. Like, maybe he's good in the right system, right? Maybe he's like a Luke Altmaier. Maybe he's like that. Maybe get him out of this system, do it 2 years in a row, run the guy out. Maybe he works out somewhere. I don't see in a Brent Venables system that this guy ever is a top 10 quarterback in the SEC.
Brent Venables' system's defense. His offense has been atrocious since he's been there. Outside of Dillon Gabriel winning the Texas game last year, the offense has been atrocious since Brent Venables has been there.
And you told the guy to leave.
Yep, told him to leave, and then scared him up to Oregon.
I'm sure Dillon Gabriel's sitting there going, "Thank God, I'm on a team that might make the playoffs. This team might not make a bowl game."
And that's my thing. Like, so when Gabriel left, the offensive line left too. Missouri stole a bunch of their offensive linemen. A lot of people went to the draft and everything else. What's going to happen again is this team's going to be bad, like I said earlier, and the superstars that they got, the athletes that they got, other teams are going to come in and say, do you want to play for this offense again?
What they're going to go do is this.
Who's going to say, yeah, I do. No, they're going to go to a LSU or to a Oregon or to a Ole Miss or to an offense that can get the ball moving and everything else. And they'll be like, all right, we're gone.
You're telling me Blake Baker at LSU, the defensive coordinator, isn't sitting there going, there's a couple pots in that defensive room that I'd like to bring over here because we're going to roll back out Garrett Nussmeier. So, hey, sir, would you like to play behind Jackson Arnold, or would you like to play behind a guy that just threw for 4,000 yards and 39 touchdowns? What? And there's going to be multiple teams like that. Texas is going to come.
Oh yeah,
Hey, would you like to do it? Like, you're going to have teams.
They're all sitting there like this right now, just going, "Yep, keep doing what you're doing.
Where are they at?
Keep doing. Keep doing what you're doing."
Look bad on offense because we're good on offense. We just need help defensively. We'll take some of those guys off you, and they're going to be like, "Well, Danny Stutzman is going to be gone this year. Good for him. He's a great college linebacker. He's going to be a good NFL player. It don't matter though. Also, they gave all kind of shit to LSU all offseason because that big kid that played D tackle from TCU went there.
Where's he at?
One sack. He had one sack at TCU, and LSU made an offer for him, and he came back and said he wanted like $500,000 was his NIL offer, and LSU was like, "We need help there. We're not giving $500,000 to a guy that's got one sack and he's a run stopper." And Oklahoma came doing it. Everybody wants to be a Sooner. I don't know what he does right now. I'm sure. I mean, you got like some sickos that are like, "I love it. We're gonna be better." They're not good. They're not a good football team. They're good defense, which will keep things interesting. Their best bet is that they play LSU and it's raining. Their best bet is that it's piss and rain for the Red River game. Their best bet is that somebody else also can't. Like, it's just a slop fest. Because if we play a game and it's 85 degrees and sunny, they're in trouble. They're in trouble unless it's piss and rain. Like, they're in trouble.
Yeah, all they got to play with. I mean, they can't play offense. They'll have to start getting points scored on defense for them to keep anything reasonable. But I don't see that happening. We'll see. Like I said my piece on them. I probably won't talk about them again until after Red River, and then they'll be an afterthought because, like I said, they'll play their best game that week, and they
definitely will.
They'll
definitely play. They'll throw 2 or 3 touchdowns against y'all. They'll show an offense that's like, "Where's this at?" Because they'll be so hyped. And I still think they lose that game like 47-20.
Absolutely. Especially after last year, Sark's probably got a bad taste in his mouth because it's still set on him, and it's just gonna be ugly. Let's get on to what's coming up next week. So next week we got a big one, the biggest game of the year thus far, or will be the biggest game of the year. Georgia Bama. It's gonna be one of our game of the week, so we won't give our pick on it. But it'll be a highlight one. Another one of our game of the weeks will be Illinois. Game of the week again versus Penn State. That'll be a good one. We'll say that pick as well. Pretty much all the big games are going to be our picks this week outside of Oklahoma State, K-State. That'll be our honorable mention, but we can touch on it and we can go ahead and pick a winner of it since it's not going to be in our top 4 picks. But it'll be like Buddha said when we talked about it. It'll be the whoever loses this game is going to be out of the Big 12 contention.
Yeah, 100%.
I still think I think K-State wins it. I think Ollie. I don't know what's going on with Ollie Gordon. I don't know what's happening with Mike Gundy's team. But I don't know what they do. I don't know who.
Gordon hasn't looked great. But the one thing I will say though is, I mean, their quarterback play has looked a lot better. I think he's been in college
for 2 decades.
Yeah. Because I think he's averaging like probably around 250, 260 yards a game, I think, for their quarterback. I mean, granted, obviously he has to because Gordon's only averaging about 40 yards a carry. Or 40 yards a game, sorry, not a carry. Yeah. He's not Ashton Genty, which I need to touch on that here in a minute. But
yeah.
Here's my thoughts on that game. I wonder if St. Bill Snyder's got room for a chalupa up there because I think they're taking another loss. That's what I think.
Here we go. Liv Moss.
Yeah, literally Liv Moss.
Who is we can while I look up some of those stats about Ollie Gordon, who are your guys' players of the week?
So I'm going to touch on this. Obviously, as you guys know, I've been kind of hyping up Memphis Tigers now for about the last 3 weeks. After their upset game with FSU. At the time, FSU's trash, and they only won 14-9 against Cal. Again, horrible football team. Anyways, now I am going to highlight Mr. Blake Horvath. Okay? Navy against Memphis has not beat them nor had a winning record in the last 5 seasons. Okay? He comes out this game and looks like Jaden Daniels last year. I don't know where the hell this came from. 6 total touchdowns, 2 passing, 4 on the ground, 9 for 12, 192 passing yards, 12 rush attempts for 211 yards. 400 total yards of offense from your quarterback, and he was your leading rusher.
Yeah.
Absolute insanity. Now, with that being said, I don't see anybody this past week that even competes with that. My opinion. Now, granted, one other guy I would like to highlight who is also top 3 in Heisman right now. I think he's second ranked in Heisman behind Travis Hunter, I believe, or they could be tied, however you want to view it. But Cam Ward. Cam Ward again comes out and has another phenomenal week. Now, granted, like I said, I'm giving the nod to Horvath, of course. But Cam Ward comes out again as a 17-point favorite in that game and ends up stomping them and doubling that point total and beating them by 35.
Yeah.
Cam Ward also passed against the USF team that held Alabama for the majority of their game until the fourth quarter. He just came out, punched him in the mouth, 400 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Hurricanes are looking great. Cam Ward, I know we said Milroe's going to be probably Heisman at the start of the year. Cam Ward right now, that's changing for me. He's looking like my Heisman favorite right now. And, rightfully so. He's passing for 350, 360 yards a game right now. Torching defenses. And he can also run the ball if he needs to. And that was shown in the Florida game. And he hasn't had to since because he's able to just pass over the top for a 50, 60-yard bomb. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. So, that's where I'm at there, fellas. So
you got into that one, boy.
Yeah, I did.
So that was my player of the week. I ain't even got to give you any hype to him because Bo just gave it all.
Sorry, took the thunder there, but I'm loving watching Cam Ward this year.
Yeah,
I didn't even hear about him. I didn't even know he was the person until he played Florida. A buddy of mine had talked about it. Was just like, hey, need to watch this kid. He threw for like 4,000 yards at Washington State. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll give him a watch. Has impressed me every single week he's been out there.
Absolutely. He is my player of the week. He has just lit it up and just been unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Kid can do no wrong. His lowest passing game was 304 yards. Like,
it's nuts, dude, how good he is.
He's thrown his lowest amount of touchdowns he's thrown, 3. He's thrown 3 touchdowns in 3 of the 4 games. His other one, he threw 5. I don't need to say anything else. Like I said, Bo pretty much covered it. Yeah. Who you got, Buddha?
So, I would have picked one of those 2 guys, but since they're off the board, I'm going to go with the guy that we talked about during the LSU game. I'm going to be a homer here, and I'm going to pick Mason Taylor, who became the all-time leading receiver at tight end for LSU this weekend, and looks like he might be the best tight end in the country right now. Won the Mackey Award last week. Looks like he's going to be a first or second tight end taken off the board. So I'll go Mason Taylor. He's just been an unsung hero for LSU. He's been Gary Nussmeier's absolute safety valve. He's looked great in the past game. So I give it to Mason Taylor.
Yeah,
I really think Taylor for y'all is kind of what a lot of people thought Mitch Evans was going to be for Riley Leonard for Notre Dame.
Absolutely. Yeah.
5, 6 receptions a game, gets 50, 60 yards, easy. Maybe a touchdown or 2 here and there, but Taylor's killing it.
Ultimate safety valve.
I've loved watching him.
Absolutely. Well, pretty much, I think that's all we got, guys. We pretty much covered everything.
Timing. About time.
Exactly. Covered it into next week. We'll catch you on Friday, as always, for our lives, and we'll give you our game day picks there. I will have the graphic for our game day picks here once this drops as well, so we can have fun with it and get y'all's picks and what y'all think. Buddha has dropped to third place in the current standings, but might be some shakeups this weekend. We'll see how it plays out. What else I got for him, fellas?
Well, I think we're going to try to keep the trend going. I'm going to try to look for some upsets this weekend, fellas. So be looking out for those. And Honestly, put those on for Bo's bets. So just a heads up, because the underdogs been barking. Dogs have been barking, fellas.
Absolutely. What you got, Buddha?
I got nothing. I'm excited to watch the Heisman Bowl tonight. Jaden versus Joe, Monday Night Football, here in about 10 minutes.
Yep, absolutely. I did put that cool graphic up too. I hope you like it. I saw it and I was like, hey man, I gotta do something with that. Can't have these guys showing up without something. But hey, that's it. We'll catch y'all on Friday. That's all we got for y'all.
Liv Moss.
It's 6:48.
Liv Moss.
Liv Moss. Have a good one. Hook 'em.
See ya.